One of the tactics abortion supporters frequently employ in order to silence pro-life men is to throw out the slogan, "No uterus, no opinion," anytime a man speaks out against abortion. In other words, because you're a man and cannot become pregnant, you have no right to offer an opinion on the subject of abortion. Scores of pro-life men have been intimidated into silence as a result of this approach, but let's take a closer look and see what's really happening here. This is an example of an ad hominem attack, a logical fallacy whereby an argument is responded to by attacking the character or some other attribute of the one making the argument rather than refuting the substance of the argument itself. In this case, the pro-lifer's argument is dismissed or ignored, and instead his gender is attacked. Now, it's not difficult to see that this is a classic and brazen example of sexism, automatically disqualifying nearly half the population from offering an opinion on a moral question like abortion is nothing short of discrimination. After all, how does my not being a woman have anything to do with whether or not abortion unjustly kills an innocent human being? Why should one's gender exclude him or her from making moral judgments? Keep in mind that pro-life women use the same arguments that pro-life men use. As pro-life apologist and philosopher Francis Beckwith points out, arguments don't have genders, people do. So, in other words, my arguments against abortion and for the legal protection of preborn children are either good arguments or they're bad arguments, but this has absolutely nothing to do with my gender. Notice, too, that no one ever uses this tactic to silence men who defend abortion. For instance, abortion supporters seem quite comfortable with the fact that it was 9 Supreme Court justices, all men, who were responsible for Roe v. Wade. Apparently, the opinions and the judgments of these men count. But if my gender as a man disqualifies me from making a judgment about abortion, shouldn't this apply to all men and not just to those who oppose abortion? So it seems that the real offense being taken here is not over my gender, but rather over my position. A position that rests on the scientific claim of human embryologists that from the moment of conception you have a distinct, living, and whole human being. And on the philosophical claim that says that there's no moral difference between the adult you are today and the embryo that you once were that would justify taking your life in that earlier stage of development, but not now. And so it turns out that this is not merely an example of sexism, it is a flagrant example of intolerance, an attempt to silence those with a differing opinion. Gentlemen, don't be sidelined from the abortion debate by this kind of tactic. Intellectual honesty requires abortion supporters to do more than complain about our gender. They have to refute our argument. In your conversations about abortion, stay focused on the nature of the preborn child. The rightness or the wrongness of abortion is a scientific and ethical question that concerns itself with the nature of the preborn child and has absolutely nothing to do with one's sex. In the end, abortion is not a women's rights issue, it is a human rights issue, and one that men have as much right to speak to as anyone else.